the time and space to give yourself a break. Here you'll find some love, music, laughter, and above all, she'll dare to tell the truth. And so come to Granny's place and give your spirit a big boost.
Welcome to Granny's Place, a haven for love, entertainment, and uncommon sense. I'm Sweet Baby James, here to introduce you to Granny Rocks. Tonight's theme, when the harder way is the easier way. Say what? I thought the easy way was the easier way. So let's see what Granny has to say about this, shall we? And here's Granny.
Hi, everybody. Welcome all inner revolutionaries. Now, why am I calling you guys inner revolutionaries? And why am I sitting here playing with one hand, or barely playing with one hand? And why am I in a nightgown? Well, you've seen me in a nightgown before. So anyway,
why are you in a sling?
Why do I have a sling? Well, it was 3 days ago now.
Yeah, 3 days.
I was out walking on the beautiful land, really enjoying the energy and all of that stuff, and I fell. And I broke my left arm. Now, 9 months ago, I was in the house sitting on this very chair, and I fell off the chair, and I broke my right arm. So what can I say? So there it is. So it's going to be a while before I can play with both hands, but I'm not going to give up the music just because I don't have an arm, right?
Right.
So that would not be the right thing. And why am I calling you? So anyway, you're just going to have to take me as I am, right?
Yes.
Okay. And why did I say welcome all inner revolutionaries? Well, I think that inner revolutionaries are people who want to change the world from the inside out. Yeah, they want to change the outside, but they also want to change the inside, because the inside leads to the outside, and that we know there's something fundamentally wrong with the way we treat ourselves, one another, and life itself. So anyway, that's why I think if you are tuned into this show, you are probably an inner revolutionary, or want to be.
Didn't you once say that there's only one problem on the planet? And what problem is that?
Would that be consciousness?
I think that's what you said.
The lack of consciousness? Yes, we are not conscious of the way we treat ourselves, one another, and so on. And by the way, I wrote a book which you can get for free on theinnerrevolution.org, and it's called The Handbook for the Inner Revolution by Beth Green, who is another name for Granny Rocks. Now, it's a great little handbook. It gives you all kinds of tips about how to be an inner revolutionary, and you might enjoy it. And for the price, it can't be beat. So you go to theinnerrevolution.org, and it should be right there somewhere. You click some button somewhere.
It's on the home page.
It's on the home page. So anyway, I'm going to do the best I can to play like this. So let me tell you, I haven't been practicing the piano much lately. I've been doing a lot of suffering. And I've been in bed and all of that. And I know the drill because I had a broken arm last year. But it was worse last year because I also had an injured leg. But you know something? It doesn't matter how much pain I had last year. It doesn't make this year's pain any better. Have you ever noticed that?
Yes.
So what does this have to do with the topic of when the harder way is the easier way? Well, I want to tell you, I was inspired to do this show because I fell outside and I had to lay there for over an hour until the ambulance could get there, because we live in the boondocks, and it was cold, it was wet, and I was I was lying on this broken arm, and I was pretty miserable. And finally, some paramedic type person came before the ambulance came, and she offered me a morphine drip. Boy, that sounded good at the moment, right?
Very tempting, huh?
Very tempting. But
feel
see,
that pain, right?
Oh my God, I was in a lot of pain. It's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? But the problem is for me, I have these really teensy, beansy, weensy veins, And it's murder to put needles in my teensy beensy vein, especially when I'm freezing cold, in shock, on the ground. I mean, was that going to be any fun? I thought, nah, that's not going to be any fun. So I thought, nah, I don't want that. And then she said, well, I could give you a shot. And I had this moment. Now, I am not telling you that you should never use morphine. I don't mean that. I mean, there are times when you really need heavy-duty painkillers. But we use painkillers too often, and we pay a huge price. I'm not just talking about the epidemic of opioid crisis, addiction kind of. I'm talking about just the fact that our bodies then have to deal with the medication we're putting into them. But it's not bad enough that I'm injured on the ground. Now, I happen to have a very sensitive body, because I'm very sensitive. And I mean, I'm getting by on 200 milligram Advil a day. And it's not because I'm a hero, because I am not. I'm a total coward. I can't stand pain. It's because my body can't stand medication. So I have this choice between the short-term pain or the long-term impact, right? So I'm in the hospital. Every 2 seconds, someone is offering me a drug, right?
Maybe that's why we have an opioid epidemic.
I think so, but I can understand it. I mean, here they're trying to x-ray me and do this and that and the other thing, and I'm, oh no, I shouldn't have done that. That really hurts. Anyway, because I'm in pain. They don't want to deal with it. I don't blame them. I wouldn't want to deal with a screaming woman either. But you know, when we left that hospital, at least my body didn't have to deal with the medication too, and it was screwed up enough. I was exhausted because, you know, some of you know I'm chronically ill anyway. I'm in constant pain anyway. This was just worse, right? But are you beginning to get the idea of what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to say that it's not heroism, it's common sense to try to reduce the stress on our bodies. And again, I am not suggesting that you should never take pain medication. That would be very foolish and judgmental and ignorant on my part. I just mean, think. Is it worth it? Now, I am not the kind of person who could sit there with a needle and thread and sew myself up on a battlefield. Forget it. I don't have that, you know, but I could scream, you know, and I could let somebody else be responsible. I could do that. So anyway, that's what I could do. So that gave me the inspiration for the show. When the harder way is the easier way, because see, I am in a better recovery now because I'm not dealing with drugs that my body can't handle. See? So now I want you to think about all the ways in which, you know, you're challenged and you have painful things that you have to deal with. And are you dealing with them in the long run better or in the short term better? For example, you have to tell your daughter, it's over. She's got to move out. Well, she's only 74. And she's been living with you for long enough. And you feel, oh my God, you know, I'm 99. It's time that she made her own breakfast. Okay? This is what I'm talking. All right. So here I am. I'm 94. And I am not 94, by the way. I am 74. And if some of you remember, I celebrated my 74. No, I'm 73. You're going to be 74.
73.
Forget it. You see what happens when you get to be my age. So anyway, you were with me, and so 73. Yes, that's what I am.
It's a rare woman who will overestimate her age.
But it is not a rare woman who can't remember her age at this age anyway. So why was I telling you about my age? Oh yes, because I'm 94. I'm trying to
daughter out of the house, right?
So I'm 94, and you know, it's like I'm cush in bed, and my daughter is, you know, doing her thing, whatever it is that she's doing, and I'm thinking, well, maybe not today. You know what I mean? Not today. Do you know what I'm talking about? Well, I can do that tomorrow, right? And I've been saying that for 27 years. Every time I'll think on that tomorrow. So I've got to go confront my boss. I have to confront my husband. I have to confront my friends. I have to confront the president. Let's think on that tomorrow, shall we? Now, so you're thinking, so what's wrong with that, thinking on that tomorrow? Well, do you not see a problem? I mean, I'm now 94 and I'm still making breakfast for my daughter. I mean, do you think that maybe in the long run it would have been better if I had taken care of this 27 years ago? Ouch. Anyway, so that's what this is about. Now, there are so many things that we have to face in life. Okay, so we have lots of physical pain, and how are we going to handle that physical pain? Are we going to numb ourselves and then go run on that broken leg? So that's another thing. 'Cause see, the doctor said to me, after I had refused the last effort to give me morphine, and also the chest x-ray, because I knew that I couldn't tolerate it without the morphine, and I didn't need it. I just knew that I had a broken rib or something. I could still breathe. So anyway, you have to talk with reality. You have to think about everything. Do I really need it? Just because somebody in authority says, you need this. In fact, the guy, just before I left the RN, said, you're going to need something stronger than Advil to handle this. Not yet. And again, I'm not courageous. Believe me, I am not bragging. I just know that I probably couldn't even be sitting on this chair if I was taking more Advil than I am, because my body would have collapsed already. See? So I am really spacey today. Do you notice that I keep losing my place? Well, probably I didn't have anything that brilliant to say anyway. But so we're talking about we have physical pain, and sometimes we just need to face it. Now, tell me that when I go to the dentist. Oh my God, I don't want to go to the dentist. I don't want to go to the dentist. Please, I don't want to go to the dentist. It hurts, it hurts. No, I'd rather have a cavity growing for 5 years and then have to pull the tooth, and then they're going to have to put in, a dental implant. And all of this is because I couldn't face going to the dentist. See what I'm talking about? So this is very simple. It seems so obvious, right? So obvious. Well, then there are these other things. So we just talked about getting my daughter to leave the house. And let's say you're working for a school system and you think what they're doing for the children is inadequate, and that you think that people are corrupt, and you think that the school system sucks, and you're sitting there and you're getting aggravated, and you don't say a thing. No. Or better yet, you complain to your friends. Oh yes, it's so terrible here. Oh, I hate this job. And one of these days, when I'm closer to retirement, or when I am retired, 50 years from now, when I get that gold watch, I'm going to leave and I'm going to tell them a thing or two. Right? You think I'm exaggerating? Exaggerating? Hardly. Doesn't that happen? There's always a rationalization. I can't do that. I'm too close to retirement. Or I can't do that because I'm too new in the school system. I'm always too young, too old, too sick, too stupid, too weak. I don't have enough.
Too something.
Too or not enough.
Yeah.
I'm too or not enough. And so I don't say anything.
What about a marriage relationship where you're depending upon your spouse for your support?
Oh, yeah. Hold that thought. Let me just finish one more thing.
Okay.
Because what is the consequence of being in the school system and never saying anything? Well, nobody does anything. Or maybe somebody else speaks up, but you're saying, oh, I'm so glad that she did that. And so there isn't enough power to change things. And you get to look at these kids and you're saying, this is bad for these children. And what's happening to you on the inside? You feel really, really lousy, like you're a failure and a fink. Doesn't that cost? Is that worse than facing up to things and getting fired? Or standing up to your friends? Now, you were just talking about a marriage relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you have an abusive mate. Male, female, neither, whatever. Abusive. You stay in that relationship. It becomes a habit. You begin to think there's something really wrong with you.
I'm sorry, wrong with what?
Really wrong with you. Well, there really is something wrong with you. You're staying with that lug instead of confronting it. Now, maybe he's a really wonderful person. He has mental illness and he needs help and you need to do something about it. But it doesn't get better by ignoring it, does it? And what happens is you deteriorate inside. I got almost down to the bottom. It makes you sick inside when you don't do the right thing. Some of you are really getting activated because you don't like what's going on in our nation. I don't like it either. But some of you are with groups of people who are fighting, but you don't like the way they're doing it. Or you don't think it's deep enough or adequate enough, or you think that they're fooling themselves about solutions, or do you think that they're parading around blowing up their egos, puffing themselves up because they are the opposition and they think they are so rad, and you get angry and you think there's something wrong with that, but you aren't going to stand up. Oh no, because all of your friends are in the same group. And they're all agreeing, or you think they are. So you don't say anything. Or you go to see your parents and one of them opens their mouth and start talking about the N-word, right? And you say, oh, well, they're old. You know, what's the point? Right? No. Why? I mean, there are times when it's better to not speak, but what's the motive here? Always look at the motive. See, when I was a spiritual teacher, now I'm sort of like, I don't know what, but I used to talk to God a lot, and now I still talk to the universe, and the universe still talks to me, but I don't know what to call it. But anyway, so the God said to me, it's not what you do that counts, Beth, it's why you do it. I don't like that. See, I'd rather have it be what I do than why I do it. Because I can make up all kinds of noble reasons. Because I'm doing the right thing. The politically correct thing. Or the Trump thing. Or whatever my orientation is.
Going
right?
along to get along.
And I believe in my stories, and I believe in the cause, and I believe in all of it, but I haven't given it a single thought about why I believe it or why I'm doing what I'm doing. And that sucks. So let's say Dad is a total racist. Well, and you've had the conversation with him 100 times. Well, you've had the conversation with him 100 times. You don't have to have it the 101st conversation. It's just like with morphine. You need it, take it, right? But don't not talk to Dad because you don't want to displease him, or you don't want to be out of the will, or because you've learned from a child not to upset your father, because it's a terrible thing to do to upset your father, because that would upset your mother, and you don't want your mother to be upset, because then you won't be the favorite child anymore, and that, and bleh, and bleh, and bleh. That's not a good reason. See, you see what I'm trying to say? Mm-hmm. It's the why you do or do not do what you do that tells you what you're doing. What are you really doing? Why you're really doing it? And that tells you whether you should be doing it. So if you've never confronted the racism in your family, you probably feel like a total sellout, right? You don't feel good inside. That's the long-term cost. Do you see what I'm trying to say? See, we have an aversion to pain. Me too. I don't like pain. I remember I had to leave an abusive relationship. And I was all alone in the forest with a compression fracture because I had fallen and I have osteoporosis and I, hit my spine. No, actually, that's a different one. But I had a compression fracture. I won't even tell you how I got it. It had to do with the abusive husband. Anyway, and I knew he had to go. It was over. And I was all alone. And I am not kidding you when I say I was all alone. And I couldn't move because I had this bad compression fracture in my back. And I was like 25 minutes away from a store. And I didn't know how I was going to live. And I'm not courageous. I knew that if I stayed, it would kill me. And him. It wasn't good for him either, right? So there it is. Sometimes we have to face really, really hard things. Sometimes we have to face a corrupt, scary government. I would be terrified if I lived in a country where I was going to be picked up and tortured. I have friends who were, in their own nations. It was bad enough here. But I know I would have fought anyway. I don't know if I could have handled torture, but I wouldn't have been quiet. Sometimes you have to make that fight. Sometimes you have to stand up to your fear. Sometimes you realize this is not the right fight. This is not the right time. And then you don't do it. But you don't do it because you're afraid to fight. You don't do it because it isn't the right time. So you have to have that connection to yourself. See, I'm talking to you like you have a connection to yourself, right? Right? Somehow you're going to know whether you should take this or you shouldn't, or it's time to let your daughter go. And all right, so maybe it's not so easy to know right off the bat. But supposing you let yourself ask yourself those questions. What's my motive here? What is the long-range impact of my silence? Supposing that same daughter is shooting up and I don't throw her out. First, of course, I offer her treatment, but if she refuses, I have to ask for what I would call divine guidance, right? Is it better to stop enabling her? Boy, what a tough question that is. So she's shooting up and I'm letting her. I'm letting her steal from me. I'm just using this as an example. It could be anything. All because I don't want to lose my daughter's love. Not because it's for her highest good. How am I going to feel when she's dead? Short-term pain or long-term pain? Now, I am not going to exaggerate because sometimes that short-term pain becomes long-term pain. Okay, so let's say I was out there at demonstrations and the police are beating on me, 4 guys with clubs. This happened. So I wasn't very well and they hit me. Thank God I got no concussion, and I don't know if I had any long-term disability from that. I was already so ill. Who could tell? But one of the police officers, he looked at me, as I was trying to crawl to get up. This was in New York City in the anti-war movement. That was the anti-Vietnam War movement, for those of you who weren't born yet. And he said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No." I was lucky that I didn't end up with long-term damage from that. But he hurt. And I've had many situations like that where I've stood up for the truth, and the people who were there to hurt me, to punish those of us who were standing up, where they knew, they could see it, they could feel it. And somehow my suffering actually helped them to awaken. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
And fortunately, I didn't suffer long-term damage. I have faced a lot of bad things in my life. I've been punished a lot for having beliefs that were different from what the powers that be wanted. And I wouldn't shut up. Maybe you have too. Maybe you haven't. But I'm sure that there are instances in your life that you can think of where you can say, wow, I did the right thing there. I took the hard way, and it made me strong. And that's what I want to tell you. That the long-term gain of doing the right thing is that you love yourself. And that is the greatest gift you can ever give yourself. You can say, I may not like the outcome of what happened, but I can look in the mirror and I can honestly say that I didn't sell myself out. My soul. Now, I'm not saying that I was always right in the things that I thought, or that you will be, but I had integrity because I did what I at least believed was right and wasn't looking for the easy way out. And that builds character, whether you make a mistake or not. I can look back on things that I say, well, I don't think I believe that anymore, right? But I built my character, and I still have it. That's the long-term gain. Self-respect, self-love, character to face the tortures and the torments that besiege us on practically a daily basis. Life is not easy. At least my life hasn't been easy, and I don't think your life has been easy too. So I'd like you to take a moment with me and think about the things that you've done where you were brave, not because you're brave, but because you knew you needed to be, because the price of being not brave was more than you could bear. And if you can think of ways that you haven't been that way, I want you to take a very courageous act now and forgive yourself. It is not noble to punish yourself. It'll stop you from growing. Forgive yourself, knowing there is a real long-term gain from doing that. You can start rebuilding your self-respect. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Come back next week. I'll still be in a sling, but I'll be welcoming you with open arm.